Okay, welcome to Chapter 2, Lesson 2-1 and 2-2. Your essential questions. I can read and write integers. I can find the absolute value of a number. I can compare and order integers. First, let's talk about what is an integer. Well, first, here's a big old group of all the different types of numbers there are. Let's start when you were little with how you counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Those are called natural numbers. Moving up from natural numbers, we have whole numbers, which is actually very easy as well. It only includes 0. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all those counting numbers, just like you've known since you were pretty little. Integers is just going backwards and counting all of those opposites. So it's the list of whole numbers and their opposites. So we've got our whole numbers. They're included. These are integers. But also integers would be the negative values that match. So -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. Let's talk about a number line and how that works. So I started to draw out a little bit of a number line. When you were younger, you probably saw your number line start with 0 and they counted forward. I want you to get used to a number line having 0 in the middle. So my 0 is going to be in the middle, and the numbers to the right are going to be positive numbers. And I'm just going to count up from 0. And then my numbers to the left are going to be negative numbers, and I'm going to count just like I did forward, only this time I'm counting with negatives. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and so on. All right, so what is an integer? Integers are the set of whole numbers and their opposites. So here you can see a big group, and it just keeps going on. We can have very large integers, but notice in my list I don't have 1.5 or 2.5. I don't have any fractions and I don't have any decimals. They're all whole values. When we talk about integers, we're going to have a lot of word problems, and in our word problems we have to decide, are they talking about a positive number or are they talking about a negative number? So we're going to do some practice situations where it just gives us a description of the situation, and we have to decide, is this talking about a positive value or a negative value? So first, it says a loss of 11 yards. When I lose or have a loss, it's going to be a negative value. A gain would be the opposite, where that would be a positive value. A deposit, some people don't know what that means because you don't have a bank account yet. A deposit means you put money into the bank. If you're adding money to the bank, that's going to be a positive thing. Notice how when I write an integer, I did not include the symbol that goes with it because it's just an integer. A withdrawal is the opposite of a deposit. It's where you take money out of your bank account, and that would be a negative thing. 6 degrees below 0. Below 0 is negative, so -6. And above 0 would be positive. 250 meters above sea level would just be a positive 250. I would like you to try these, so please pause the video. You should have gotten the answers of a profit of $20 is 20 because a profit is making money. An elevator goes down 3 floors. Down would say negative, so -3. When I compare integers, I want you to think about a number line. Some of these are going to be really easy to do without a number line, but always have that number line in your mind when you're comparing an integer to decide which one's bigger. On a number line, the numbers that go further to the right are always going to be bigger numbers, and the numbers that go further to the left are always going to be smaller numbers. So if I were to put these two numbers, -6 and 8, on my number line, I always have my 0 in the middle. My 8's going to be on the positive end. My 6 is going to be on the negative end. And you can see that since 6 is further to the left, it's the smaller number, and since 8 is further to the right, it's the larger number. Now you're going to notice a pattern that every single time you do this, the positive number is always going to be bigger than the negative number. You don't have to draw a number line every single time. It's just really helpful when it's hard to compare. This second one's a little bit trickier to compare because they're both negative numbers. And since negative numbers are new to us, it might be a good idea to draw that number line. We've got 0, and the -64 is going to be way down here. You don't have to draw 64 little lines, but you know it's way down to the left. -15 is not going to be as far, right? to the left. So we say the number that's furthest to the left is the smallest, and the number that's furthest to the right is the biggest. So if negative 64 is the smallest, that means negative 15 is the biggest in that group. Here we've got another positive and a negative. We already said the positive number always beats out the negative. 77 and 300, those are both positive numbers, so you already know probably the answer is 300. Here I have 0 and negative 2. Think about your number line. 0's in the middle, negative 2 is to the left. Negative 2 is further to the left, so it's smaller than 0. I'd like you to try these, so please pause the video. Okay, you should have gotten the answers of negative 2 being larger than negative 5, positive 9 being larger than negative 9, 3,983 larger than 2,987, 0 is larger than negative 4. This one's a little trickier, but 2,982 is a little bit bigger than 2,988. Think of it kind of like the opposite of what it would be if it were positive. So since these are both negative, I can think of it as the opposite answer as if they were both positive. And then lastly, 10,008 is larger than 10,005. There are a couple reasons why I would want to graph integers on a number line. One is to have a visual picture of it, but another is so that I can make an order from smallest to largest. So I'm going to go ahead and graph these numbers on my number line. And what I'm going to do is just put a 0 right there in the middle. And I'm going to start with 4. I'm going to go 4 to the right, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And place a dot. Now I didn't place a dot for 0 because 0 is not in my group. I just am using it as a reference point so that I know where to go from here. Then I'm going to do negative 3. Negative 3 is to the left because it's a negative number. 1, 2, 3. Negative 3. Place a dot. If I don't place the dot, I'm not actually doing my job of graphing the number. Then negative 6. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Place a dot. And positive 11, I start at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Place a dot. Now notice that 0 was not actually on my list. So if I wanted to list these from smallest to largest, I have them done. Right here is my order. Negative 6, negative 3, 4, 11. It is the easiest way to line up numbers from smallest to largest and always be accurate. Let's do these last ones here. I'm going to place a 0. Remember, I'm not placing a dot because 0 is not a part of my group. Negative 17. I'm not going to count 17 little lines. I'm just going to say that's somewhere on this side. Negative 17. Then positive 12. Again, I'm just going to write 12 somewhere on this side. Now I have to decide, where does my negative 4 belong? Well, it's going to belong in between my 0 and my negative 17. So negative 4 goes there. All right. Now that I have that, I need to make sure that I have dots on the appropriate ones, points. Okay, and I can line them up in order from smallest to largest. Done. Here's something that's probably new to you. It's called the absolute value. Absolute value is written with 2 bars. Notice those 2 bars on either side of the number. And when you see absolute value, it's asking you how far away is that number from 0 on the number line. So here I'm going to look for negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 spaces away. So my answer is 5. You cannot have a negative absolute value because you're only counting spaces. And you're not going to count backwards because a space is a space whether it's to the left or it's to the right. All right, so negative 5, the value is 5. The absolute value of negative 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 spaces, so the absolute value is 6. The absolute value is always going to be a positive number. The absolute value is never a negative number. Notice how the answer to our first one, negative 5, the absolute value to negative 5 was 5. The absolute value to negative 6 is 6. So it's really just this number cleaned up. I think of this as a car wash. These little lines are kind of like my numbers going through my car wash, and it comes out clean. I always think it washes away the negative sign. But what if a went through our car wash? So if a positive or a clean number goes through the car wash, it's just going to come out clean. It's not going to add dirt or add a negative. And think of it this way. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces from 0 on the number line. It's still a 4. So like I said before, the absolute value is absolutely always positive. I'd like you to try these, so please pause the video. Okay, you should have gotten the answers 7, 8, 81, 79, and 23. These should be really quick. Let's make them a little more tricky. All right, so if I have an expression or if I have an operation to do, I'm going to do the things in the absolute value bars and then finish the problem. This first one's just asking me what's the absolute value of negative 12. That's 12. The second one, I'm going to do the absolute value of 8 and the absolute value of negative 10, and I'm going to add that together to get an answer of 18. Now this one's 7. And the absolute value of 4, well, 7 stays 7, plus the absolute value of 4 is 4. Add that together and I get 11. And the last one, 12, stays 12, minus the absolute value of negative 8 is 8, plus 7. I'm going to do these first. I get 4, add on the 7, and I get 11 again. It is time to go and try your NICU quiz. Good luck.